Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here today to review Sailor Moon, Season 1 from 1992, episodes 4 through 6. I am to go on it and just be humbled and grateful for those of you who had gone on to check out the first review, and maybe you might follow up. May not, either way. Uh, I'm to just still want to watch these episodes because they're seemingly enjoyable. They're seemingly enjoyable. I will go on to say that they're very simplistic. I also concede that there's a pattern going on for each one of these episodes. For how the first three episodes are kind of to echo these three episodes, and I'll go on and I'll compare and contrast here at some point. Is rather interesting. I feel that this episode or this show so far is to be very simplistic, but I don't think that's exactly a knock. I think simplicity could just say that it's easy to watch, and that could be a positive thing. And then also, some people could just be like, "Yeah, this show is very simplistic," and that'll be a negatory to whoever wants to go on and feel that way. But so we come to this very first episode, and how the pilot was to go on and focus on a character that is to kind of have a lot of kind of personal struggle, and is to have a lot of self doubt of them being able to do this whole Sailor Moon thing, and uh, very much kind of echoes this very first episode, which is be learn how to be skinny with Usagi. So we come to find out that Usagi, this episode time around, is to have the energy draining mechanism be a gym. And how we get about that is we have Jadeite, who is to decide to uh, have this gym where people are to lose weight in an unusual amount of time frame, which is to be, for Miss Harana's case, 2 days worth of time. And that seems to be kind of unusual. We'll come to find out that there is to be some pod that they end up getting placed into. They end up calling it like a ray of some kind. And eventually it goes on to like suck the energy, which I guess is to also accumulate to weight as well. But so once Usagi finds out about Miss Harana going on through this weight loss to this gym, it's like, well, sign me up. And she goes along with a lot of her friends to this gym, and her friends end up getting taken and put in these pods and getting their energy sucked out of them. And Usagi goes on and is to, in the very beginning of this, realize that she's put on, I guess in her terms, quite a bit of weight, and she's looking for her family for guidance, and then she's going on to look at her friends for guidance, and then she's going on to decide, like, well, hey, I'm going to go on and do something about this, which is to be, I think, dieting in almost an extreme, where it's like she's not seemingly eating anything, which doesn't really make quite a bit of logical sense when you break it down, really, because going from like uh 60 to 0, like, it's not good. And she's gonna crash and burn. And when she goes on and she does that, we see that play out when she goes through and finds the guy at the arcade. He grabs her at the last second before she like passes out, and then she's having that dream. So, and there seems to be not a whole lot of Tuxedo Mask within these episodes, which is very strange. What we have is his alter ego, but like, and he's to kind of throw one-liners every once in a while, but we don't have much of Tuxedo Mask within these episodes, which is kind of interesting to kind of finally break away from that. Maybe Tuxedo Mask was on his own mission. Maybe they'll do a whole separate episode just focusing on Tuxedo Mask. I don't know why, but I have that feeling that they should just kind of do that. I guess, I don't know, just some kind of change up to do here. So we have Usagi going on to eventually finding out within this episode that she could uh, go on to work out by fighting, and that is how she's to go on and possibly lose weight. And yeah, if only you could have fought more, um, instead of just crying and cowering in fear, because you're just kind of new to all this. So, if anything, for this episode, also very specifically, it reminds me of a Power Rangers Turbo episode where Catherine was to, of course, go on and have some weight problems, some weight issues. And it was rather interesting to see a Power Rangers episode that kind of tackles that and kind of do it in the way of which that is to just be like, oh, they also take the monster and uh, they have him deal with weight also, where he makes people way heavier than they are. Yeah, not in the heavy sense of like, oh yeah, you just gained to it. No, he like smashes them into the ground for how much that they're to just be absurdly more heavier now, even though they look the same. Anyways, so kind of as if you were to go on and kind of be in different planets, and eventually each planet has different kind of how much you would weigh and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. And I would discover that on going through some certain museums in the past that you can kind of weigh certain things in certain planets, which is kind of fun. Anyways, so going into the next episode, how the first episode goes on and focuses on Usagi and like her own personal issues and everything like that. The second episode shifts and focuses more on now Usagi's brother, Shingo. How Umino is to be kind of be more focused in the second episode, and they kind of showcase that character. We now have Shingo, who he's going through his own problems, his own internal struggle. Shingo comes to find that he is to be just having problems with Luna, their new cat, and he has to have a story for why that is. And he goes on to eventually meet up with a girl. I believe her name is like Mika or something like that. And like I'm just kind of going rattling off of my brain of whatever I can remember, as well as also that's probably what's going to happen when I go through this review, because of the setup not being as good as it has been in the past, because I had to go through a very certain specific means being able to lay this all out this time around. So it's not going to be as in detail, but it's going to be something. So Shingo goes on and goes into this pet store, this pet perfume store, which is a weird name. But anyways, we come to find that Shingo and Mika, I have to question that name. I'm not very confident about it. Like, yeah, Mika. No. Uh, they make their way into the pet store. They go on. They obtain this uh, Chanel. I'm not sure if that's pronunciation quite properly. And it's kind of like the Troubles with Tribbles episode of Star Trek, the original series, where everybody's like, "Yeah, we love these Tribbles. It's great. Like, aren't these great pets?" And then they come to find out that all of them are like breeding, and they take over the ship, and like it creates turmoil for the ship. That's not exactly what happens here in Sailor Moon, but eventually we come to realize that like this pet is to go on and be tied to a bigger monster, a bigger threat. And I believe it's Shiguana or Iguana or something like that. I only got the pronouncing of the name once, and it almost sounded like Shiguana for me. And I was like, that sounds like a really cool name because it's a female, as well as also it being an iguana. So I legit hope that that was the actual name, even though it looked like just iguana when I looked at it on text. But anyways, so we go on to eventually in this episode have Usagi go on and help out Shingo and kind of knock him out of the hole, him being hypnotized by this pet and him being so focused on it, and eventually defeating the monster. And then, of course, we kind of go back to a copacetic thing of which, where eventually by the end of this, Shingo has to be good to Luna, the cat. And I'm like, oh, all right, like I'm enjoying these episodes. I'm oddly enjoying them. Like I had my maybe like reservations in the first like jump of this. It's kind of like I don't know, like like I was trying to think um if this was gonna go on and not be able to be something I could make a series of, and if people were really interested. And because I had watched like Gem a long time ago, and Gem has its certain things. It has like music, and it has characters like Rio and all these things, and it's just kind of like, okay, that seemed like a show that was just very much for a very certain window of time, but I don't know quite is to connect with people now. Where I think Sailor Moon still can connect with people. Like I think that the things are quite relevant, except for the whole like cassette player and CD thing. Those things don't seem to exist now, and that's what kind of brings us into the last episode here, where like obviously nobody goes on and listens to radio stations much anymore, but if anything, like people can still connect with the last episode, which is kind of much more of a love story. And in the third episode, we had that whole radio station thing where people are calling in and doing the whole love letter thing, which pretty much in this last episode, that's to be very similar. We come to find that this artist uh, is to go on and eventually have feelings for this girl that he is to work alongside her to kind of get his music out. The bad guys, the Queen Beryl, which I can kind of be more cementing of that name, as well as also Jedi, they go on and they find that this cassette tape seemingly has like some kind of subliminal messaging or has some kind of ultrasonic ultra wave thing that they can use to realize that it could be an enticing thing. I'm like, when you go on and when you have this episode specifically, when you have this one right after episode episode 3, because Jedi goes on and he's this like radio DJ disc jockey guy, and you would think that that would probably be perfectly in sync with one another, but maybe that's just me. Um, as well as also maybe that'd be too much of like the same pattern, kind of like. But I think that would be more cohesive of a story if those things kind of matched up. But I guess most of these episodes, most of the time, have to just kind of be kind of its own like disconjointed thing of like, hey, whatever we can get to kind of just appeal somebody with a theme. It is kind of annoying that every single opening of this episode not only has the intro song deal, which love the song when eventually I get to the actual American version of it because I have heard that. No offense. I can also like the Japanese version, whatever. Like I'm like I don't skip the intro at all. I'm like yeah, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And then right after that we go into Usagi who goes under this whole like yeah I'm 14 and I'm from this middle school and I'm a bit of a klutz and like every single episode is to be uh that recapping of this character. And I'm like, man, if people are to go on and really want to binge watch this, that could probably be the one annoying thing. But like, I get it that probably each one of these episodes are probably padded for time. Um, but if anything, also, uh, man, like I probably would assume that like this specific thing here was probably not done, assuming that there's going to be a binge watch of it later. I think a lot of people just probably had just a weekly episodic thing that they just didn't think that it was going to go on and eventually just be binge watched later from some streaming thing somewhere. Because this was done in the early 90s, of course. So, which I go on and I had heard quite a bit of things from. Also, speaking because I was a 90s kid, there probably is going to be a bit of content that will probably come up soon. And will kind of, for those of you that are to like this, maybe you might like this also. Because immediately when I was looking at, like, okay, I guess I'll end up doing like Sailor Moon again. And I was looking at like female characters, and eventually what popped in there was eventually like realizing that there was Spice Girls, like the girl group. And Spice Girls was to go on and have their own movie in Spice World, and I'd seen that movie a long time ago. And maybe at some point it may go on and revisit that for those of you that are to be fans of Spice Girls. Maybe I'll go on and I'll do a video of that. So that could go on and be a future review that I'm planning on doing. Uh, and so maybe if people are to go on and like that idea, then cool. Then that'll carry on into maybe people wanting to check that out also, or just continue to just check out these, and that's okay. I'm just trying to branch out and just trying to doing some interesting ideas that'll make this channel a lot more unique, as well as also I've seen this bit of content in the past. It's not like something brand new to me most of the time, but uh, it'll be cool also to check out. As well as also, there's probably a number of those kinds of movies of Spice Girls, anyways. Maybe there's going to be something interesting coming out of that also. Uh, but anyways, so I think it's about that time to just push into full on spoilers about these episodes and break this all down. So let me know in the comments below what is be your favorite thing of Sailor Moon so far. Maybe it's the original series, or maybe you like other aspects of it. Uh, Let me know in the comments below what is to be your favorite strong female character. Maybe you like Sailor Moon, or maybe you like other strong female characters, whichever they are to go on and be. Um, I like a lot of strong female characters also. I usually tend to watch movies because of that. Hence why I checked out the first Kill Bill movie, and so on. So, not trying to advertise any of this. I'm just saying, yeah, that's why I did any of these things. So, with that said, this is the part where I get down to the character list, because this is an anime, and go on and rattle off what happened in every bit of detail of these episodes. So, feasibly, you may go on and jump off this point if you had jumped off earlier. That's completely fine. If anything, I do appreciate anybody going on and taking the time to watch any of this, because I really do like that anybody is to go on and just venture into these uh, kind of swing of the fence like videos. They're like, oh, let's try this today. Yeah, like, um, let's see what the tide brings for YouTube today. That I'm just gonna come into these decisions. So, yeah. So let me pause here. Let me get out the first kind of preamble and everything, and get going, and hopefully get this uploaded today. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for going on and being a fan of Sailor Moon, or maybe going on and finding out that this content exists and wanting to check it out all on Disney Plus because it's conveniently on there, which was surprising to me to be like, oh, this is on Disney Plus. All right, interesting. So that said, let's pause here and let's get this rattled off. All right, so this very first episode is Learn How to Be Skinny from Usagi. So, the very beginning of this is to kind of be the preamble. It is kind of interesting to see that they're going to go on and ahead of time tell you what's going on in the episode, which I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't remember seeing this in other episodes, but I'm seeing it here. Or like, man, are they really going on and trying to just recycle footage and try to figure out how to kind of quickly get more of these episodes out, right? So, in the very beginning of this episode, after the whole like pre-episode and everything in between, we have Usagi that's going on and getting her way out of the shower, and she makes her way into screaming, and everybody's like, okay, what's going on? Usagi's family all make their way into the bathroom to see what's all going on. Every single one of them, even the brother, oddly enough. I think even Luna is a little shocked of kind of overhearing Usagi. So the family thrusts into the bathroom to come to find that Usagi is to just be upset because of how much weight she has gained. So her parents, both uh, Ikuko and, of course, the parents can't be on the same effing page. Uh, Genji, or Kenji, my bad. I'm never gonna go on and say those names again. I'm just gonna say Usagi's mother and father because I don't want to remember every single character. Normally, I would have in everything else, but I'm saying that now ahead of time. So if that's one thing that just bugs you, then I'm sorry. I just uh, I'm just gonna go on and just do this approach. So Usagi's parents go on and they convince Usagi that, well, hey, yeah, like it's fine if somebody has a little bit of weight on them. Plus, also, I think oftentimes when you're young, like your parents will go on and you'll tell it's like, well, yeah, you grow into your clothes, or they'll go on and they'll they'll say it's like, well, hey, you're young, like it's okay if you're heavier when you're young. So at some uh, like at some point you'll kind of you'll lose that weight, or you won't keep it on, and whatever. So the parents are going on and they're saying that's like, well, you know what your problem is, like you're eating too much, like you just need to eat smaller portions, and so the further and further that Usagi is hearing all this, like coming from all sides of her family, the more upset she's getting. And it's almost to the point where Usagi's in tears, making her way to the window looking out. And we all of a sudden have Luna, and Luna is drawing this picture. And at some point, Usagi ends up asking Luna, it's like, well, hey, what picture are you drawing? And horrifically, Luna goes on and whips out the picture, and it's Usagi, and she looks kind of bigger, heavier set, I guess. And Luna tells Usagi, it's like, well, yeah, this is what you're going to look like in 6 months from now. God. Uh, Now if she fights more crime, she won't. So Usagi goes on to make her way into her school. Usagi is looking at her best friend Naru. I believe that's the name. I didn't look it up this time around. I'm just going on muscle memory here. Usagi realizes that Naru is eating her meal, and Usagi has nothing. Usagi, no! Like, just have an apple or so. Just like, uh, yeah. This is going from like 60 to 0, and when you crash and burn, yeah, you're like. Plus, this kid just like she walks home, and like also she goes to school. Yeah, so she's probably doing like uh physical education. Yeah, any number of things. So Usagi looks at Nara and sees that she's eating a meal, and so Naru ends up asking Usagi. It's like, oh hey, like, uh, it seems you're not eating today. Like, where's your meal? And Usagi's like, yeah, about that. And then all of a sudden, Umino interrupts, or Umino, the geeky guy from episodes before with his big fat glasses, uh, spiral glasses, really, as if he's like hypnotizing you with just looking at him. Umino, you're a jerk, but I love you. Uh, I love you in a way of which that just says that uh, I hate love you. Is that a thing? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But Umino goes on to hand Usagi his tray as if he is to go on and kind of be generous to her. And Usagi goes on to look at Umino's tray, and it's basically like little scraps of like tiny bits of rice, and maybe there's a little thing of cheese, and maybe there's a thing here. Like, what a what a douche. So we have Usagi that's going on like this isn't a meal. Uh, this is this is scraps. This is rat scraps. So Usagi goes on and she's around her friends. Some of them are just called Usagi's friends, and some actually have names like Brandy. So I believe that's just only the number of girls. I just kind of quickly looked that up. So 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 Usagi's friend, the one girl, goes on and she actually mentions stuff like fasting and and actually is to actually give some legit like actual things that people can take away from. I'm like, oh, what is fasting? I've never heard of that. And people could like research it to this day. So there's actually one character that it's nice that these people actually went on and actually did some research for the show. Thank God for that. Uh, it's not like somebody was like, oh, I really want to diet. What can I do? And a lot of people are just throwing their hands up like, I don't know. Like, we couldn't be paid well enough to actually do research to give you the right amount of real legitimate advice that would make the most sense, right? But I get it that also it would be a very boring show if they went into the actual nitty gritty details of like uh of going on and like, well, you need to work out in a calorie deficit, whatever that means, because you don't know what that means exactly. And and you need to go on and eat smaller portions of food and go on, yeah, like hypertrophy and yeah, one ear out the other for everybody that it's gonna go on and watch a show like this. So we have Brandy, and she goes on and she mentions how she feels that if all that she would do is just have a boyfriend, that would maybe be the changing tide of her wanting to get thinner and diet and whatever. And I don't know if I've said this already, so I'm gonna probably repeat myself. Like honestly, for dating, like I would just say like, where is the time to work out? Like I had dated quite a bit of time, and like whenever like there was just so many things that we'd go on and do that there's just never time. Um, but also maybe you can do other things with your significant other, and well, let's leave it at that. God, what do I? Why? Anyways, uh, I'm so tempted to make more jokes, but let's leave it at that. So, but if anything, Usagi's friend goes on and grabs Brandy, and it's mentioned like, well, hey, like you are the way you are, and there's nothing wrong with that, and Harana ends up pulling, or Harana, Narana, Naru, halalala, Naru goes on and pulls Usagi aside here, and she goes on to start chatting away, and it's mentioned like, yeah, have you seen Miss Harana lately? Uh, like, have you seen the way she looks? And Usagi and Naru go on and they spot coincidentally Miss Harana, and like she's freaking glowing, like she's just weirdly like sparkling, and she's walking down uh, the streets of Calcutta and wherever this town is, and Usagi's like, wow, like how is our teacher to look slightly different than she was episodes before, as if we really noticed. And here's all of a sudden where Umino, and here's also why I don't like this character. Bit of a creep. Uh, but Umino goes on and mentions how he had found out that Miss Harana had gone to this gym, and eventually has like before and after pictures of her going on and losing all this weight. And both Naru and Usagi look at these pictures, but then also they go on to realize, wait a minute, how is it that you have these pictures? So weird, Umino. Like, fess up. Like, how is it that you have these pictures? And Umino goes on to mention how he had kind of snuck into this gym and was taking pictures of Miss Arana. So maybe Umino has a thing for his teacher. Which I could understand that. Here's the thing though. Like, does Miss Arana, does she only have the one like gym outfit? Well, maybe she goes on and maybe she like cleans it a lot, or maybe it's like Doug, how Doug has one closet of like the same outfit 30 times, and maybe it's always like that for cartoons, because that's always to be the kind of setup, right? But then again, maybe just enough time has passed that eventually she's coincidentally wearing the exact same outfit. Let's figure that out between pictures. So the rationale of that. So they chase after Umino because they're upset that he was to go on and basically peeve on this teacher. So they start chasing after him. And so Mino starts running off. And he gets to a point where he gets off to the side and he's like, all right, I think I lost them. And all of a sudden, Usagi corners him and catches him. Like, okay. Uh, so Umino Umino confesses everything, and it's to mention that Miss Harana was to go to this gym called Shapelin. Shapelin? Okay. So that's Miss Harana's secret. So we have the girls all head to this Shapeland place, and they're kind of not really sure what they're gonna get into, but at least they conveniently also have their gym attire from school. So yeah, so this is a school where they do go on and they have like physical education, PE, and what have you. So when these girls are to go on and be outside of this gym, they immediately go on and they already see this kind of aerobic instructor and kind of enticing them into the building. So they make their way inside as Jadite is like, like he's in the shadows, just creepingly watching the girls come in. So here's the interesting thing about this setup here. I do not know if Usagi definitively knows what Jedi looks like, or can go on and look at this guy and be like, oh, that's Jedi, because this guy has sunglasses on, so maybe he's like Clark Kent and Superman, where he's a completely different person, because that's what always seems to happen with Superman and Clark Kent, right? Also, like, does Jedi know that Sailor Moon is Usagi? Because they look the frickin' same. Again, kind of clueless here. I don't think there was much of dialogue where that definitively says anywhere of that, but let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. So, Jedi welcomes the girls as if he's kind of some kind of greeter, or he doesn't have like a desk in front of him, so he's not like the help desk person or the welcoming committee. He's just to be some guy who just walks around, like all of a sudden notice these girls, and he mentions that he's going to be their instructor. So he's going to be their trainer. He's going to be the guy kind of putting them through the ropes. So, as if I know my lingo. Yeah, I went to a public gym once. I think for like a year, and I was like, like I like a home gym. It's very convenient, as well as also like there was eventually at some point where I just kind of done everything that I could do at that gym, and I was kind of like I kind of just really ran through the gauntlet of everything. So it's kind of like I don't know what I could really achieve by going to the gym anymore. So it's kind of the hesitation of just like, but I really didn't think it through, because at that point, like, I didn't do my research. Whereas now I'd gone on to like force myself in doing a lot more research, and yeah, I've definitively uh, figured out different ways of how to work your muscles through a number of different things. But again, uh, to anybody think that I'm some kind of expert, you would be wrong. So, definitively, especially with the night before, how I was like having some back issues and whatever, because that happens from random times from time. As uh, oftentimes, just to have done of my longevity of experience uh, in the job of which that I decided to thrust myself upon. But anyways, and the lifestyle I took. But anyways, so we make our way here into seeing Naru goes on and she's doing chin ups, and it seems that Brandy. Man, I hope they go on and they focus more on Brandy at some point. I'm kind of interested in this character. Immediately when she was talking about the whole boyfriend thing, I was like, Brandy. So Brandy and the green tank top guy, who's I think in the credits or uh, in the character list, he's just called Large Guy. So he like this guy here is the large guy. I don't know who these two other guys are. I think I'll just end up like, in all honesty, they should have been called like gym rats. That's what they should have been called. and when they were turning into monsters, they should have been rats. Wouldn't that have made a lot more sense? Wouldn't that have been a better idea? That's just me thinking out loud how better that would have been if that would have been the idea that they would have went with. But oh well, like you create all these other monstrous looking things for all these other characters, but these guys you just make them just look like demonic humans. Anyways, but I guess they weren't really fully monsters. They were kind of half in, half out. Because eventually, Sailor Moon goes on and does uh, her uh, tiara, and eventually, we come to find out that the guys were monsters all along. That they were just guys that were kind of being uh, done under control because of their bands that are on their heads there. Anyways, back to this episode. So Usagi is going on and doing a rowing machine. And we have a guy with a blue tank top. Well, he's kind of doing almost a blue kind of onesie here almost. And, or no, that's like a singlet. It's like a singlet. We have a bunch of dudes that are all wearing singlets. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're wrestling, but they're wearing singlets. So we have Usagi's friends that going on, and she's getting guided by some other guy in a black and orange singlet, and this girl's on a what looks like a treadmill. So we have Jidai in the background. It's like keep it up, push yourselves, and so on and so forth. And Naru is on this like I would assume to be some kind of bike of some kind. Then the next thing we see is Brainy on this like chest expander. Like it's one of those just kind of old fashioned like ones where you kind of clink. Yeah, chest expander. I don't know why she's on a chest expander, but she's on it for some goofy reason. Well, that works your arms, but like feasible. Yeah, like I don't know what she's working out there, but I guess she's working it. Probably to pump her chest out. I don't know. It does make sense. Um, if anything, these people are just in generic equipment that is to probably not to be tailored to them very specifically because this show isn't to be really tailored to the workout community, so it doesn't matter. Just throw them on machines. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so Jedi is going on motivating them to not slack off, and so Naru goes on and says, yeah, like if I keep doing this, I'll be beautiful. And so as the girls are to go on and all be exhausted, we have Jedi that goes on and is to give them a reward for all their hard work. Oddly enough, Usagi's not even with her friends. She's all of a sudden in the spa room and she's in the spa. Don't get why, but if anything, I guess she had to be in a separate area because feasibly Usagi should not go on and figure out what's going on too early here. So the three of Usagi's friends make their way into this dark room that has all these pods within it. And so Jedi goes on and convinces the girls that that they need to go within these pods because they have these rays within them that'll go on and make them skinny. Naru is to go on and realize that this must have been the way that Miss Harana had gone on and lost the weight that she did so quickly because she must have gone in through these same pods as they had. This kind of reminds me of like almost a sauna, like a very weird looking sauna, I guess. Also, this kind of reminds me of Spinal Tap. There's a part in Spinal Tap where the guys are getting out of these weird and wonky pods, and one of the band members can't get out of his pod, and then by the time he does get out of the pod, the song is over, and I just find that to be hilarious. But when remembering Spinal Tap and then watching like this scene here, I'm like, yeah, it looks very much the same. So Queen Beru is to go on and want to get an update from Jedi. Jedi ends up coming in as like a hologram. He's not physically there. Here's my question. So Queen Beru has like all of these kind of shadowy figures in the background. What are they there for? Like, why is Jedi just being seemingly the one or the only one collecting all the energy? Why are all these other people like? How about give them something to frickin' do? How about change it up? Why is it Jedi the only person who's going on and working for Queen Beru? Um, how about give somebody else a chance? How many times is this guy gonna fail before they kind of change things up a bit? And also, like, I would have gone on and liked to have just not have them continue to go on with this whole Jedi thing, just because I thought at some point they were going to do something other than this character. Uh, but I guess maybe they're going to go on and do this whole thing where they have Jedi through this whole season, and then they maybe kill him by the end of it or something. No, yes. For those of you who've gone on to seen Sailor Moon, let me know in the comments below. But don't ruin too much. Well, probably ruin it. It's fine. Uh, I'll probably still watch it anyways. Like, oh yeah, or I probably just, I don't know. I probably will read the comment. Don't spoil the show for me, please. Um, anyways, Jedi goes on and tells Queen Beru that he's going on and getting a large amount of energy from these women who are determined to lose weight, seeing how foolish they are, and so the girls all get out of their pods and they now have all these blue uh like uh like blue kind of like things upon them to just kind of showcase that, like, okay, yeah, they're kind of looking kind of ill, or they're kind of looking kind of unusual because the energy kind of been sucked out of them. So Jeanette goes on and is to look at the girls and mention how attractive that they now are, and as the girls leave, we have Jedi that goes on it again and does his like weird, goofy, like, "Hey, I'm gonna collect more energy." He does that weird, goofy thing with his middle finger. So we now transition here as they go on and they do the whole weird, goofy ball thing where they have to like zoom in on like the spotlight parts of Luna and then Usagi here. So back to action. So some time passes now, and Usagi is to just kind of be upset about how her friends just kind of left her. And again, we have Usagi that's kind of separated away from her friends, not knowing exactly what had all happened to them. Like they can't share notes or nothing. So the next thing we see is Usagi making her way through town and noticing some little random little boy who's to have this pork bun. And I was like, pork bun? Like, what is this? Is it like a pork rind, but it's like a ball? Like, if anybody who's ever gone on and actually uh, taken one of these, let me know in the comments below what exactly it is. I would go on and be like, what the heck is the pork bun? So Usagi notices that this boy has food and wants to obtain it from him. And after going on and not, or what happens is she ends up going on and getting the pork bun and from the kid, and then it ends up with the Tuxedo Mask character Namaru Chiba. So Chiba all of a sudden bumps into Usagi again, and it's like, well, hey, Bunhead, aren't you kind of eating your own kind? And so Butthead Usagi goes on and is to be upset with Chiba, chucks the pork bun at him, he catches it, and he goes on and eats it, and then he walks off. So Usagi goes on to make her way near the arcade again, and goes on to notice Sailor V's poster. And again, there's never to go on and definitively just be like, okay, like, why is it these characters look so much alike? Like, are they ever gonna get to that? I'm just so interested to just see uh Furuhata. I'm so interested in seeing Furuhata. That's to be uh Motoki. Yeah, I'm trying to scan the names of these characters beforehand. So as Usagi goes on to pass the arcade here, she accidentally bumps into Mutaki and or Mutaki, and I believe he drops a briefcase here, and so Usagi goes on and clutches on to um, Mutaki and mentions how she hasn't really eaten anything the last couple days. The next thing we see all of a sudden is both Mutaki and Usagi kind of in this weird, uh, kind of bubblish like background. And we eventually come to find that Usagi is in some kind of dream-like state. And I'm not really quite sure if Usagi is actually talking to Mutaki while she's kind of falling asleep or passing out, or if this is all just a dream. But either way, Usagi goes on and is trying to hang on here, and Mutaki goes on and says like, "Well, hey, just stay strong, and the power of energy of love will help you." And Usagi's like, "Power of energy of love, like you love me," and like, and so all of a sudden Usagi ends up waking up in this kind of nurse's office, and she's being taken care of by Mutaki, going on and giving her a can of I have no idea what this is. I'm assuming it's some kind of beverage of some kind because like I don't think it's like soup in a can, right? I would assume it's to be some kind of soda or sody. So Mutaki is to go on and ask Usagi why exactly she has not been eating lately. Has her mother been refusing to feed her? Like going on and kind of coming up with some common sense of why Usagi has not been eating lately. And And Usagi mentions that she's been on a diet, and Mutaki's like, well, why do you want a diet? And eventually, Mutaki ends up saying something really nice. Like, yeah, I don't mind if there's some girls that have some extra weight on them, and so Usagi's like, oh, so in all honesty, like if Usagi's not going to end up with Tuxedo Mask, like how about we go on and we have this finally Usagi Mutaki thing going on here. Like let's do something more with Mutaki. Um, give him an episode or something. Like come on, I want to see more of this character. Like also again, didn't we have Mutaki also in that same Umino episode? So like, what is it that did they have like a rotation of these characters that they kind of bring them in certain number of episodes? So after Usagi is to hear Mutaki mention about how he doesn't mind girls having a little extra, Usagi feels that it's fine if she eats, like, and starts to go on and starts munching down on on more of these pork buns. Oh, this is where she meets up with Chiba. I got that a little confused. I got a little ahead of myself here. So Luna meets up with Usagi and is to go on and mention uh, how much Usagi's eating, and kind of reminding her of the photo of like, well, yeah, this is what you're gonna look like in 6 months. So Luna and Usagi go to this park, and we have Usagi that is very focused on this whole diet thing, and mentioning about how girls go too far and this and that. And so and talking about Miss Harana, and Usagi goes on and is to kind of in her mind be thinking about how heavier she can go on and be and look and whatever. Like it gets to the point where Luna ends up just wanting to slap Usagi out of this for how it's to not be something that she used to be so much focused on. And because Luna wants to start talking about Shapelin, because Luna has gone on to is going to eventually figure out about the whole Shapelin thing, and wants Usagi to just kind of investigate and figure things out. And Usagi doesn't go on and care of anything of that. All Usagi is to go on and hear is about Shapelin. It's like, well, yeah, the only thing that'll go on and help me lose all this weight is Shapelin. So again, Usagi's very focused here, and so she starts making her way to Shapelin. And Luna goes on and says, well, that's not really exactly what I want. Like, it's not what I exactly wanted you to do, but F it if you're going there anyways. So Usagi makes her way into this treadmill, and she is like pounding the pavement with this treadmill. She's going ape. She's going crazy. And so here's where Luna goes on and is to see Miss Harana. And honestly, Miss Harana is kind of looking a little bit zombified, as if she's going on and and like it has no life in her, and she's like, oh, like she's just making her way down to the ray for her to go on and get thinned out. So Luna goes on and follows Miss Hirana, and Jadeite ends up putting Miss Hirana in this pond, and she becomes thinner. So Luna goes on and figures out what is going on here and the real crisis of that needs to kind of get averted here. So Luna goes on to make her way to Usagi that is to be on this bike. Luna jumps onto Usagi and stops her from biking. So it's like, hey, like, let me get your attention. Like, if anything, like you need to run off and uh, you need to turn into Sailor Moon because like you need to help Miss Hirana uh, because she's in trouble. So as Jadeite is going on and kind of twirling his metaphorical mustache because he literally doesn't have one, but he's like, just a little more, because Jadeite is going to go on and suck out everything of Miss Hirana that he can and kill her here. That's what has Luna run off to go and find Usagi to be like, well, yeah, like your teacher is going to get in danger because she's going to get killed here. Usagi bursts in to the Ray room or the pod room and goes on to, of course, be upset with Jadeite for how he's to go on and and do something so unforgivable, and how in the name of the moon she will punish him for it, with giving people promises that they'll lose weight but doing it through horrible means. So Sailor Moon goes on to duke it out with Jadeite, and we're thinking like, all right, like we're gonna follow up from the last episode, and maybe Sailor Moon is gonna take out Jadeite here. No, he just puts out all these like hypnotized cronies in front of him, like the large man and the other two singlet guys from before that we kind of briefly see. So as these guys go on and they start to surround Usagi here, since she's realizing that she's kind of outnumbered, she doesn't know what exactly to do, and we have Luna that goes on and tells Sailor to just be strong, and then also if she is to go on and fight here, she's to also go on and lose weight. So that's kind of to motivate her in a way of which, like, well, yeah, like if you fight all these guys off and then all of a sudden, like, Sailor Moon goes on and she has all these like fighting tactics from out of nowhere. I don't know where they come from. I don't know where all these kicks and all these things come from. But all of a sudden, she goes flying in and starts taking down all these guys. And even the large man has this like this dumbbell that goes swinging at Sailor Moon, and she misses it, and the dumbbell goes flying and it hits this energy ball, which distracts the the gym rats long enough for them to just kind of be like, oh, what's going on? So Luna's to go on and explain to Sailor Moon how the headbands or the bands that are on top of these guys' heads are to be the thing controlling them. So Sailor Moon needs to go on and do this attack to go on and destroy those headbands from off these guys' heads, and then they'll turn back to normal human beings. So Sailor Moon goes on and whips out her attack here. I don't know if this time around she goes on and she changes what she says here, because I believe in the other episode, Sailor Moon is to go on and realize that she needs to change her phrasing so that way she can protect the people that are kind of being hypnotized in the Shingo episode. So Sailor Moon does her tiara attack, and the guys turn back to normal. They have no idea why they're there, and so we're now back to Jedi talking to Queen Burrell, and is saying how uh, do, 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 how he had gathered much energy, so on and so forth, and it's basically like set up to like, well, hey, but next time though. So to realize that this guy, no matter how many times he's lost so far, well, I guess it's like Power Rangers when you really look at it. I don't know how many countless times Rita and Zed has lost through tens of episodes, but like there's to be no like changing rotation. Like every once in a while there'll be like a Goldar episode, or there'll be a Rito episode, or there'll be a other character that goes on and kind of takes control of things, or Finster will have an idea, whatever. But most of the time it's left to Rita and Zed most of the time. So back at Usagi's home, uh, uh, Usagi's mother's going on and talking to Usagi about what had happened to Miss Harana, and how she had kind of taken some time off, and uh, kind of giving us like a kind of like in Quantum Leap, they would go on and they would give us from episode to the next. They would kind of give us an update about what had happened to the character that Sam leaped into, and give us an update about like, oh yeah, like his family's doing great, and they survived, and da 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 da, and they lived happily ever after. Like I kind of like those where like there is some kind of like flow of continuation where there's always like an update of like, oh yeah, like this girl saved this person, and they're thriving now, and they're having a good old time. So so Usagi's mother goes on and sees Shingo, and talks to him briefly, and the next thing we see is Usagi complaining again about how she's gained weight, and kind of cries her way out of the episode. So the next episode is to go on and be a monster's scent. Chanela steals love. So we go on in this episode to be at Usagi's home. This is where this episode starts out after the whole like preamble and and I'm Usagi. I'm 14. I'm from the school. You haven't heard this any other times or any of the other episodes. So I kind of like how Usagi, like there's these dream sequences that keep coming up. It's really fun. So Usagi's at her home and she's dreaming about Tuxedo Mask, and the two of them are hugging, and Tuxedo Mask goes on and says, like, well, yeah, have no fear, I'll always be by your side. It's like, dude, you haven't been by our side in any number of these episodes. Where have you been? You must have been busy dreaming away. So Usagi goes on to wake up because of her brother. Her brother is to go on to be very upset that Luna is in his room, and there seems to be a pillow going flying at Usagi. So, because of course it was probably going to originally hit Luna. Shingo goes on to say to Usagi to get that cat out of here, and that he's scared of cats, and Luna. So Usagi goes on like, "Oh, you're scared of cats, huh?" So, like, Usagi goes on and takes Luna and is to be thrusting the cat in front of this guy's face as he's screaming, making it worse. So they all make their way to breakfast, and the family is starting to notice, like, well, yeah, it seems like we're going on and we're having this cat here for a long time now. Like, is this just going to be a consistent thing here? And and Shingo is to go on like, well, yeah, like, uh, he's kind of to have his own kind of derision and to probably not want the cat to be here. So while Usagi is to be tempted to want the cat to move in, and like it seems when she's going on and asking her parents about this, it doesn't seem they go on and they say anything about like, well, like, hey, isn't that kind of an expensive thing to kind of get like cat food and make sure the cat's consistently taken care of, like kitty litter and all that, maybe outdoor cat or whatever. But anyways, so after that whole conversation, both Usagi and Luna leave, and so Usagi goes on and asks Luna about how exactly that Luna ended up in Shingo's room. And it's like, well, Luna hasn't really spent much time in that house, as well as also Luna had kind of gone on and kind of been very busy and had come into the room at the very last minute and ended up just being the wrong room. So Usagi tells Luna, it's like, well, hey, you need to go on and you need to kind of butter up my brother, so that way everyone will go on and be so easy to kind of let you live here. Even Shingo, who's to be the only like problem out of everybody. So while Usagi goes on to make her way to school, Luna decides like, oh, okay, well, go on and I'll make my way by this pet store, and I'll see what like a normal pet goes on and does to kind of win over people, and maybe that's what I'll try to eventually win Shingo over and kind of implement some things. So Quinn Burrell goes on and meets with Judite yet again, and they're talking about his new strategy and to capture human energy, and Tsunade is like, well, yeah, I already have something planned. I have this monster, Shiguana or Iguana. Um, and that they're going to capture the remaining energy of all the humans and so Quimbrel is like, okay, yeah, go on and just kind of proceed with your plan. So, whoops, what happened here? Let me pause here for 1 second. Okay, so Usagi makes her way to school and ends up talking to her friends about her brother's kind of fear of cats. As they talk over, it seems that Umino has his own story about and him ending up getting attacked by an alligator, and come to find out that the alligator is just some alligator purse, which they end up showing the visual of what he was talking about, and eventually Usagi figures it out, and they end up just kind of being upset with Umino for how he just had this stupid story. Luna is to go on and make her way to the elementary school, trying to find Shingo, hoping that she could just spring on him and hoping that whatever he does can just win him over. Because Luna just wants to find this guy immediately to figure out some way to win him over, which what he does ends up just going on and freaking him out because a cat just jumps on his shoulder and just starts licking him, which freaks him out. Obviously, anybody would have anybody who would have any animal just jump on them um, whatsoever, they would freak out. They would, even if it is to be your own cat or dog or what. Like, I would go in and obviously know that my pets would kind of jump on my bed late at night, but it would always still freak me out. Even knowing that it is going to be my cat or what, it's still like it always just like freaks me out regardless. So, because it's unexpected every single time they do it. It's not like you're gonna psychically know that they're coming in your bed, uh, unless you just prepared them going into your room anyways. Moving on. So after Shingo gets freaked out by the cat and falls over, here's where he meets up with Mika. The two of them start talking, and eventually they come to find their way to this pet shop perfume. Uh, because of course Miko brings it up about the whole new pet shop. So, because Shingo is like, well, yeah, like maybe it'll have something other than cats there. Da da da. So they make their way to this pet for perfume shop, and it seems that unusually like there's to be a lot of kind of like this place is like glowing, or there's just something about the aura in this room is just kind of very interesting. But anyways, Shingo and Mika go on and find what almost looks like rodents to me, or what I would call Furbies, because that's kind of what they look like. As if this is some kind of brand new like rabbit, or some kind of like, again, this is kind of like Troubles with Tribbles from the Star Trek episode, just for how weird these pets kind of look. But so Shingo goes on and locks eyes with one of the animals that are within one of these glass displays, and he immediately gets hypnotized by them as both Mika and Shingo go on to obtain one of these Chanels, they go on and meet the woman that is going on and uh, going to sell these to them. I don't think that this woman has an actual name here, or if she probably does, I think it's probably just to be called Shiguana, anyways, because that's usually what happens. They just say the same name over again, but it's in like human form or it's in the monster form. So I'm sure that's the same case here. So as Shingo and Mika talk to this woman, asking them, asking her about what the price of it is of these animals, and she makes it to be quite a bargain that they can't turn it down. And it's like, well, hey, whatever you have on you, that'll probably be a good enough deal. And then we see the girl's eyes kind of sharpen. And we see this kind of blue dash, and like, yeah, she's the evil villain here. She's the evil monster working in this story. So as Shingo and Mika go on to pass this dog, they think nothing of it as they walk by. And then we again see the Jadeite kind of middle finger, kind of we're sucking the energy out of these people. So Usagi ends up asking Luna if she's gone on to do anything to kind of try and win over Shingo yet. And Luna is to say, it's like, well, hey, maybe I don't really need to go on. I don't really need to live here. Like, I've been doing so well without having to live anywhere. Like, so I don't really think that this really matters if I win over Shingo or not. And Usagi's like, well, yeah, but that's not really like you to just kind of give up so easily. So, so Usagi is telling Luna that she can't give up and that she just needs to give it another try. And then all of a sudden, Shingo ends up opening the door and he has his Chanel. And so Usagi is telling Luna, it's like, hey, this is your chance. This is your one shot. So the next thing we see here is something very horrible. I probably should have mentioned this in the preamble, but I didn't. So Luna goes on and starts to make her way to Shingo. Is like, hey, yeah, like let's try and win him over. And Shingo goes on and takes his foot and kicks Luna. Just boots her, just punts her. And I'm like, oh my god, that was freaking awful. So Shingo goes on and tells Usagi that starting today that the Chanel is to be kind of like the newest pet, and uh, and Usagi is to kind of after Shingo leaves, is to be crying her eyes out, very upset for how Shingo was to go on and treat Luna, and the two of them kind of comfort one another. The family all makes it by, I'm assuming, that what is to be the dinner table. They're all just having tea. Because Ikuko, Usagi's mother, goes on and calls her down for tea. So they're all going on and they're all having tea. And so both the parents notice that Shingo has this new pet. And so they're still kind of back and forthing on whether or not they should keep the Chanel or they should keep the Luna. and or maybe that they should keep both. And so and Shingo is only focused on the Chanel, and he doesn't want Luna to still be there. Shingo leaves the table and makes his way back to his room, and is to just continue to stare at the Chanel as the Chanel starts to glow. Usagi goes on to try to alert Shingo. It's like, well, hey, it's time for school. This is like the following next day. So Shingo doesn't really want to go on and doesn't want to go to school. I think he's going on and just making up excuses so that way he doesn't go to school because he wants to just continue to be around his pet at all times. Eventually, whoever is to be afflicted by this Chanel pet will want to go on and just take it with them at school, and we'll eventually start to see like Miss Harana that is like, well, hey, you shouldn't have pets in school, and there's to be kind of a problem that arises with that. So, speaking of things, at the middle school, we have all the students that go on and bring their Chanels into the classroom, and we're seeing them on desks and any number of things, any number of places, randomly. So Miss Harana comes in and starts to make a head count, and the students start to go on and they start to hide their Chanels, but one specific student just cannot go on and can't be without her Chanel, so she whips it out. Uh, and Miss Harana has to go on and kind of be upset with the student just so focused on the Chanel. And so Miss Harana goes on and is to see what this kid has. And the kid just goes on and shoves Miss Harana and has her fall over and hits these chairs and these desks and hurts herself. So every single one of the kids who have these Chanels, they go on and they no longer care about school, so they end up just leaving the classroom. They're just so focused on these pets that they don't care about school anymore. So Usagi and Naru are going on and talking about how uh how Shingo had gone on to just boot the cat and just it's been so horrible to the cat before, and there has to be some kind of key to this of why uh, these people are kind of acting unusual, and it has to all be coming from this pet shop perfume. So Usagi goes on and makes her way to the pet shop perfume, and she again meets up with Shiba, and at this point we just have the two of them that are just kind of more and more upset by the fact that they keep bumping into one another. And Chiba's like, "Oh, are you gonna be just like everyone else and get one of those Chanel pets, just like everyone else?" It's like you don't really seem like that type of girl, but yeah, I guess you're just gonna fall in line like everyone else. So Usagi makes her way into the pet store to try to figure out what is going on here, and so as Usagi meets with Shiguana and she shows her around the store. Luna starts to come in and starts to look around a bit. and Luna is to kind of be kind of feeling that there's something very wrong here. We have Usagi that goes on and is to lock eyes with one of the Chanels and ends up grabbing it. And so we have Shiguana that goes on and is to give Usagi the pet and kind of just has her go on and walk off with it. Usagi goes on and is to walk off and is now in the streets of Calcutta. Luna goes on and is to be a little confused about how Usagi had gone on to just kind of walk away from all that. And further, Usagi's to go on and tell Luna, like, I can't stand you. Uh, don't come any closer. And since now Usagi's tone has changed, Luna realizes that there's something going on, and it probably has something to do with this new pet. We even have at one point where there's this girl that is riding around on this little bike and she falls over and starts crying, and Usagi does nothing about it. She just continues to walk. Luna goes on and finds the girl and tries to comfort her, and so what Usagi goes on and does is jump onto Usagi and tries to separate the Chanel away from Usagi, so it kind of breaks this hypnotic spell going on here. And once Luna goes on and is successful with that, then Usagi's to ask Luna, "Hey, what is going on? Like, I'm so confused." So Usagi is to apologize to Luna and is to figure out what they need to do next. Usagi runs her way to her brother Shingo with his pet, and so Usagi goes on and is to grab the pet away from Shingo. But it just won't happen. And so at this point, since they realize that the pet store is to be the key to all this, that Luna is to tell Usagi that she needs to change into Sailor Moon and she needs to go up against this pet store. And Usagi is to just kind of go on and kind of be hesitant about this because she realizes that if she goes on and makes her way into this pet store, she may end up getting hypnotized by these Chanels again. But if anything, kind of Luna will be there to probably snap her out of it. So uh, we have Usagi that goes on and teleports, transforms, and makes her way to the pet shop Perfume. So now we have Shiguana that goes on and is to have all of her Chanel kids at the store, and she's going on to control them because they're kind of just mind controlled now. It's kind of like the tarot card thing again. So this is very much similar, or it's even to be actually similar to the jewelry thing, where eventually all of the women start putting on the jewelry, and then they're zombified or they're hypnotized. So here's where Usagi makes her way in and is to kind of just go on and do the normal shtick between both Monster and Sailor Moon here. In the name of the moon, I will punish you. And Shiguana ends up changing into her more monsterish blue skinned form. And then eventually, Shingo and all the people behind him, they all start turning into the blue skinned monsters themselves. So we again have another situation where Usagi is very much outnumbered. She starts to run off, while evil Shingo and the rest of the other kitties are going on and chasing her down. Usagi goes on and chucks a bunch of displays or boxes uh, to kind of be some separation to bide her more time. And Luna and Usagi starts talking, and they're coming up with a strategy. It's like, well, what am I going to do here? Like, we have to go on and we have to attack them. And Luna's like, well, yeah, that's a good strategy and all, but like, I can't, like, these are real people. Like, I can't just go on and just destroy them like I would destroy any normal person. And so Una's like, well, okay, like, then you have to go on. You have to phrase your tiara attack differently. So Usagi goes on and phrases her attack differently to then go on and have it be flung out in the air. And all of a sudden, the tiara goes on and is to appear on, like, above all of these iguana looking kids, and is to have like a kind of a dust that appears above them, eventually going on and changing them back to their human forms, forcing them from the control of this Shiguana. Then the next thing we see is both Sailor Moon and Shiguana having this bit of chase out here, and it was actually really interesting to see, like, Shiguana goes on and like wraps her tail around Sailor Moon here, and is like chasing her down through the parking lot. So Luna comes up with the strategy that there's a weak point for Shiguana, and it's to be her tail, the end of her tail. So Sailor Moon goes on to take her tiara and does the ultimate attack, and this goes on to wipe out Shiguana, but then also wipes out all of the Chanels and dusts them like usual. Kind of like how in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, how eventually she would go on and she would stake the vampires, and then the vampires would turn all into dust. Same kind of idea here, which is kind of interesting. So Shingo leaves the perfume shop, no longer zombified, and finds Usagi and assumes that Usagi is to, one, not be Usagi, but then also is to assume that this girl is Sailor V, and Usagi is to go on like, well, no, I'm not Sailor V, I'm Sailor Moon. So Shingo is to go on and ask Sailor Moon. It's like, well, hey, like uh, what is it other that you would need from me? Anything that you would ask, I'd be willing to do. So, and oddly enough, Sailor Moon is to immediately know who Shingo is, and Shingo's like, well, how do you know my name? And uh, and Sailor Moon's like, well, I know everything. So Sailor Moon convinces Shingo that he needs to go on and he needs to treat the Luna cat better, and so Luna off in the distance is like, she cares. So the next thing we see is the following day, all the families gather around and breakfast, and Shingo is going on and petting Luna in the head, and they go on and assume it's like, oh yeah, I guess like now we can go on and finally have Shingo, who's not afraid of cats, but then also we'll come to find that, like, I guess Shingo is to be welcoming this cat finally, and so it kind of resolves this whole situation. And we roll credits with the kind of the little hole that kind of like as if this is James Bond all over again. So the last episode here, this is gonna be a little bit confusing because I need to know who all these people are right away. Because I didn't really look this up ahead of time. Uh, you or Arnade, Arneda, you Yusuki. The that's the band leader. That's the artist guy. That's this the musician. Uh, Yusuki. That's what I'm going with. Um, Akiko is to be the girl who is to have been uh, Yusuki's love interest in this episode. And then we have the random studio worker. The monster in this episode is the uh, Kaiurin. That is straight up going in and just really American. Like I'm looking at a text and I'm saying it. Kaiurin. That doesn't probably sound like something really Japanese. Kaiurin, maybe. I have no idea. Kaiurena. I have. I never, I don't think, had the pronunciation ever happen in the episode. So if it did happen, then I didn't catch it. So this last episode is so you want to be a. No, wait. The last episode is to be protect the melody of love. Usagi is a cupid, evidently. So we start off this episode with Queen Beryl finding out that there is these things called cassette tapes. She didn't know. So Queen Beryl is having this like magic ball and she has this cassette tape playing in it. And all of a sudden all these flowers nearby go on from being like these nice looking flowers to all of a sudden they just disintegrate and die or they decay. So Queen Beryl tells Jedidah, it's like, well, hey, like, so this cassette went on and did this to these flowers. And Jedidah states that it's a that the music inside of the cassette has a subliminal ultrasonic wave, and that if the humans listen to the same song or the cassette of the music, then they will fall to that same problem. So of course, Queen Beryl is going on and letting Jedidah go on and on his own little merry way. Jedidah goes on and meets up with Kaiurin and tells her to go on and plant the ultrasonic wave of the tape at the studio, at the music place that they're going to. So the next thing we see is Naru and Usagi, and they're going on and they're listening to this cassette player. Or no, it's a disc player. Because they evidently have this song, but it's in a CD. So evidently they're a big fan of Yusuke's music, and we have Yusuke that goes on and is now making his way to the studio to eventually meet with Okiko. uh, Ikurin, uh, God, is it Kai, uh, Kaiurin? Kaiurin. Um, Kaiurin is going on and like it's kind of fun how she like consistently has bats like flying around her because she's basically Batwoman or the equivalent of it. So she has all these bats flying around her, and so she has this cassette tape. So Akiko ends up coming into the studio and ends up grabbing the cassette tape. And while she's going on and doing that, we have Kaiurin that is to kind of take uh, her her nails out and have them grow ever so larger because she feels that she's going to have to go on and defend herself in this room if lights are turned on or if more people kind of come in. But instead, we had this studio worker that goes on and tells uh, Akiko that they need to get out of here because, of course, uh, Yusuke uh, Yusuke is here. So Akiko goes on and starts talking to Yusuke, and it's mentioned that she does like the music, but if anything, like the music doesn't exactly have a title yet. And if anything, there's no big rush to figure out what the title is going to be. Because if anything, they know that this guy's music's good. So Akiko goes on and hands Yusuke his cassette back to him, and then walks off to go into the elevator. Yusuke is going to mention that if only this girl would have paid a lot more attention to the cassette tape, then on the very top of it, it has this bit of lettering that he left in there, and that is to actually be the name of the song. We have Naru and we have Usagi, and they're in the rain, and they're nearby a jewelry store. They then further go on and they pass by a gaming center, and Usagi is kind of tempted to go into the gaming center, but Luna ends up telling her to not go in there for how that's just kind of goofing off. Yusuke ends up going on and bumping into Usagi and knocks her onto the ground. Yusuke ends up looking horrible, as if he's terrified. We have Suki that goes on and is to kind of put his hands over his head. He's kind of very concerned that someone's going to attack him. And when Asuke turns to kind of try to figure out who is going on and either following Asuke or going to attack him, there seems to be no one there. So Asuke goes on to explain his story to Usagi about what had happened to him, that he was going on with an umbrella through a dark alley with these flowers, and then all of a sudden ends up going on to see a silhouette of Kaiurine, Kaiurine, and eventually realizes that this woman is turned into a bat, which freaks him out. Yusuke goes on and starts running through this seemingly all white background. as we see uh, in the silhouette of the monster, they go on and kind of present their wings, going to go on and chase after, of course, uh, Yusuke. Yusuke is to go and admit that maybe there was all a hallucination that he hadn't really seen when he had saw, because if anything, right now, like there's no monster on him now. Yusuke goes on and mentions that he's going to make his way to some jazz club because he needs to perform here shortly. So, if anything, he goes on and he hands Isagi this car that says that he's a piano player, and then runs off. Because as soon as Usagi realizes who this guy's name is, she realizes like, oh, like you're that artist that I got on and I've heard so much music of, and then as soon as she says that, he then vanishes. Luna wants to kind of keep track of the fact is like, well, hey, like, if anything, it's kind of good that this is all over and done with between you and this guy now. But if anything, from kind of what his story, we can come probably get something from it that, if anything, there's kind of a new monster in town and it's probably chasing after that guy. So they realize that if there's a possibility that this monster is going to go on and start following them, that maybe they should uh, try to follow him themselves. So Kyrene goes on to make her way to a junkyard where she speaks to Jadeite, mentioning how she has not yet retrieved uh, the cassette, I believe, from Yusuke, that she hasn't kind of swapped out the tapes yet. So Jadeite goes on and tells Kyrene here, it's like, well, hey, like, kind of make sure you're gonna go on and you're gonna make this plan work out, and kind of we push on here to the spotlight where it's like the cat and Usagi. So Usagi and Luna are to go on to realize that they need to make their way in this jazz club, but Usagi's not going to go in there as Usagi. She's going to go on and she's going to take out her disguise pen and she's going to change into a hot musician. So she whips out the disguise pen and transforms here. And she has like weird green hair and a completely different outfit, and she's a completely different person. So the banter back and forth between the two of them is kind of funny here because it's interesting to try to figure out and understand how exactly that Usagi is going to get in there, but also Usagi turns to Luna. It's like, well, hey, like, how exactly are you going to get in there with you being a cat? So Luna is to go on and just to be thrown over Usagi's shoulder, and she's just to be pretending that she's just armware. So we have a waiter or a bartender that goes on and asks Usagi what exactly she'll order. And eventually, after she goes on and does this order of which that is just to be kind of be baffled by the waiter. Uh, we go on and we have Yusuke. He's going on and making his way to an elevator, and he is to have a picture of Akiko here, and all of a sudden there's to be bats in the parking garage that he's in, and all of a sudden the next thing we see is Kyurine. Conveniently, both Luna and Usagi go on and find out that Yusuke is to be in this parking garage, and Kyrene ends up going on to take the cassette, as well as also the picture falls down on the ground, and Kyurine is to mention how there can't be any eyewitnesses left. So Kyurine changes into her monster form, and Usagi ends up finding Yusuke as he's on the ground, and since now they're going on and they're kind of on the hunt to get to this monster because they want to get that cassette back. We have both Yusuke and we have Usagi that goes into this car and starts chasing off after it. We'll come to find out that Kyurine is to have to make her way to the studio to then go on and try to take everybody out with her bats. So all of the bats go on and put everybody in the studio under some kind of sleep-like spell. And Kyurine is setting up that that as soon as everybody awakes, they'll be so consumed by these subliminal messages that eventually that'll just be the one thing that'll go on and have this all turn around and end up having Kyurine be victorious. So we have Kyurine that goes on and takes the cassette and puts it in the cassette player, and Luna jumps in and is to stop Kyurine. All of a sudden, the bats start flying around Kyurine, and then Kyurine starts transforming into the Batwoman version of herself. So so it is kind of interesting here that like the fight that ends up taking place because eventually Kyurine goes on and is to have a hostage, which is a Kiko, and eventually using her kind of sharp clawed nails to go on and hold a Kiko hostage. And we have Yusuke that goes on to run to grab Akiko and protect her from getting killed by Kyurine as Luda goes on and runs into the frame here, runs into Kyurine, and Kyurine goes on and bursts through the window and runs off, or flies off. So here's where we have Usagi that goes on and transforms into Sailor Moon and faces off between Kyurine, or Kyurine, I have no idea how this is pronounced. Still, a number of times, even after I've said the monster at this point. So, we again go with the name of the moon, I will punish you, and this time around we have the monster that has these kind of weird, almost Sonic Gold like blasts of things that um, that Usagi is to have to dodge and has to run a run past. And we find out that these are kind of just Sonic attacks. So Usagi goes on and realizes that there's a strategy here. There's a stage in front of her that all she has to do is just go on and take this microphone and redirect Kyurine's blast to attack her, to have the attacks kind of hit these speakers and then go on and attack Kyurine. So Usagi goes on and she grabs this microphone and tosses it into the blast of Kyurine, and it ends up destroying the microphone. And then the next thing we see is that these speakers are going on and reflecting these blasts at Kyurine and giving her own attack back at her. So, a bit of a strategy actually going on for Sailor Moon here finally. Sailor Moon goes on and takes her tiara and does her ultimate attack, which then follows up with the destroying of Kyurine. Back at the studio, we have Akiko and Usagi, and Usagi goes on and confesses that he never wanted to have anything happen to Akiko, and if anything were to have ever happened to her, he would never go on and be able to be a musician ever again, for how she really means a lot to him. And Usagi goes on and is to overhear all of this and realizing that that this is all like very romantic and very sweet. So the next thing we see here is uh, Usagi and Naru are listening to Usagi's music, and Usagi this time around is to know a lot more about the artist than, of course, Naru does. And Naru ends up asking Usagi, it's like, well, hey, how is it that you know him so well? And 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 Usagi just kind of makes up the excuse of like, well, yeah, well, no, I just really know this guy really well. Like, I just know him. And then also she physically had met up with him, but I don't think she does go on and confess that to Naru. So the next thing we see is the new CD. The new CD case has basically the picture of Sailor Moon on it, and that's what rattles us off into credits. So thank you for going on and listening to this one. I kind of really bashed through this one because I didn't have as many as the normal cues and details and stuff, which that I did normally. Uh, but I tried to do this in the best, most quickest way possible. So thank you for going on and listening to this. However, you were to digest this, I really do appreciate it. But hopefully going on to upload this one, and if this does well, it does well. If it doesn't, then oh well, I'll just go on and I'll either keep trying to see if this does well, or I'll just kind of move on into other uh, bits of content. But I appreciate anybody going on and taking the time to go into these anyways, and hopefully uh, this will become a series. If not, then uh, this will be fine. To otherwise, just like okay, I'll just keep it at this, and then I'll kind of focus on going back into Power Rangers, or I'll focus on some of the other movies that I kind of have like to have been waiting and set up because of how I was to go on and have problems with my phone, and that took up some time, and also like who knows kind of what's going on with me as far as me being sick or whatever. So hopefully I can kind of bounce back from all this. So either way, hopefully we're just gonna try as best we can to just keep coming back to this and still being consistent. So thank you for watching this. I'm gonna get out of here now so I can upload this. So thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.